Season's greetings and welcome to Simmer's Morning Skate. Rob Simpson with you, Simmer. Next to me is Bill Daly, the Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League. Needs no introduction. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Bill.
Thank you, Rob. Happy holidays to you and all your listeners and watchers. All good.
Thank you very much. Let's jump right into it. I want to cover a lot of happy stuff today. Let's have it.
Nice.
You know what?
It's the holiday season. It should
Why
be
not? Do a quick review, not for the mathematicians, just for the fans. What happened at the Board of Governors that would stand out and mean the most to them?
I would say probably not a lot. I think it was mostly a meeting of reports on various areas of the business. A lot of different people made reports to the board. Actually, Gary's and my presentations were fairly limited over 2 days of meetings. We did have representatives of all of our national rights holders in to address the board. So ESPN, the Walt Disney Company was represented, Warner Brothers Media, Turner, TNT, Rogers. They were all there. We also had the principal of Sport Radar there who came in, talked about our relationship, which is a multi-year relationship now. Some of the things Sport Radar does with us, and gave us a sense of kind of the sports betting marketplace, both in North America and abroad going forward, which was interesting, I think, to the board. Beyond that, Goalie gave a report on hockey operations. George Paros gave a report on player safety. We always talk about the CBA and the operation, projected revenues, and projected player costs. And obviously, probably the most important issue from a fan perspective would be, where the salary cap's going to land next year. We reported to the board that, we're basically in a very similar place to what we reported in October. Right now, we're projecting revenues that are very strong and a fairly significant increase over last year. But even at those levels, they won't entirely wipe out the escrow balance, which is the trigger for the cap being able to go up multi-million dollars. We once that is paid off, we go back to a formula that is based on revenues and where revenues are, albeit on a lagged basis, as opposed to the old CBA where it was on a current basis. So that was the report that was given to the board. Beautiful 2 days in South Florida. I think the mood of the board was good. I think everybody is really pleased with the state of the game now. The game on the ice really has never been better. The state of the business is strong because of that. So all in all, it was a good 2 days of meetings.
Without going throughout without all the mechanisms, right now it looks like, and really from a fan's perspective, they just care about, okay, how much more will we have available to purchase or to contract a right shot defenseman? So right now it's looking like $1 million or so higher, maybe for next year.
Correct. Based on current projections, that's correct. It go in accordance with our agreement. It can only go up by $1 million until that escrow balance is paid off. So that would mean it'd be 83.5 next year instead of 82.5. Again, it's certainly possible that we have higher revenues than we're currently projecting. A lot of that, to be honest, depends on who qualifies for the playoffs and how far they go.
Yeah.
Because those gates can be significant and can be meaningful in terms of overall league revenues. And obviously we won't know that for quite some time, which is really a good thing and a testament to the competitive balance we have, because all the teams are basically in it still. So that's all good.
Yeah, and plus you're not allowed to just root for LA and New York all the time. That wouldn't be too cool. So, by the way, some media, I guess, I don't know who it is, it doesn't make any sense to me. They're talking about the play-in round or adding teams to the postseason, or pushing it back a little bit and sliding in an extra series. Like, I'm in 100% agreement with Gary Bettman here. Always have been. Why? on God's green earth or icy, snowy earth, would you push back or delay or alter? Half the teams make it right now, which is a great number. Half the league makes it. There's this little play-in round, Bill. It's called the 82 game regular season schedule. If you can't get your blank together by then, you don't deserve to be there.
I actually heard Bill Guerin give an interview on that recently, and he made the same point. And obviously, Gary was asked that in a post one of the meetings in Florida, and I don't know where it comes from because it wasn't talked about in our 2 days of meetings. It wasn't on the agenda, and nor was it raised. I've also read about what we're going to do with the schedule matrix and the fact that we're going to have 2 more regular season games and all that. None of that has been, have we kicked it around before internally? And even, at the manager and board level, sure. Is it anything that has any current traction? No. Is it anything we discussed recently? No. So totally agree with you. As Gary said, we think our regular season is pretty special right now. And we don't want to do anything really that dilutes the value of that regular season and, quite frankly, the playoffs, which is the best in all sports. So, I very much, you want to be creative, you want to think outside the box, you want to make sure you're progressive in your thought process. But in this case, I'm very much of the school of, what are we trying to fix here? It's pretty good right now.
Yeah. And it's not like it's baseball. Remember, when we were growing up, the pennant races, you had division winner, American League, they'd play each other. That's it. That was it. Understandable. I get the whole idea. Okay, modernize. But this is, again, half the league. And one of the few things, a lifetime, both of us in sports, a lifetime following sports, anticipation of certain events throughout our lifetimes. One of the surviving ones to this day for me, for good reason, obviously, being a hockey guy, that first Wednesday, regular season ends. Okay, we got a few days and then bang, the best thing in sports, particularly the first round where all the upsets are. Why would you smush in a 9-10 or something in that couple days or delay what is, as you just mentioned, the greatest thing in sports? Anyway, enough of that. Let's talk a little bit about, I said we're going to be all happy, not completely happy in this regard. Borje Salming, Hall of Famer. I only had an opportunity to speak to the gentleman one time. Unbelievable player. I remember watching him back in the 70s, Wednesday Night Leafs hockey from the US. An absolute legend. Gets ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, at a very advanced stage of life. Most guys are 40s or 50s, and I can go through a list of friends that I've lost in the hockey world. He's about 70, and it ate him up pretty good. But you had an experience. He was in Toronto during the Hall of Fame festivities, and then he had a special thing go on in Sweden just before he passed away in a short period of time. Do you want to share that?
Sure. You're right. Kind of really a tragic situation on a host of fronts. But there were some, good, certainly at the end of his life, and the tribute he got in Toronto around the Hall of Fame induction certainly was part of that. And I know it was important to him and his family. It was an important experience. Look, I think probably 9 months ago, the Swedish Ice Hockey Federation reached out to me and invited the National Hockey League to come and be part of a gala celebration of 100 years of hockey in Sweden. It seems like only yesterday we were celebrating 100 years, but that tells you how long and how ingrained hockey is in the Swedish culture as well. And we obviously accepted the invite. I was planning to and did represent the league in that gala event. We were invited to make a presentation we talked about, what we would present, but basically it was a presentation to recognize the Swedish-born player with biggest impact on the National Hockey League. And we had an internal panel of experts. It won't surprise you to know that it was, if it wasn't unanimous, it was almost unanimous that Borje Salming was that player.
Yeah.
So, we knew 3 or 4 months ago that we'd be presenting something to Borje. We went through the Toronto events. He flew back to Sweden, and this was the very next week. And he and his family came. It was a remarkable event. They had a formal dinner, black tie dinner on the floor of the Globe Arena. And then they opened the doors to the public, basically, to come in and be part of the celebration as, filled the lower bowl. So there's probably 4,000 people there. And I was able to make a presentation to Borje, and he was there and his family, and they walked out, and the house literally came down, and it was very, very emotional. You could tell there was pride and joy, and it was a very moving experience. So just being part of that was tremendous.
And then literally within a week, he's gone, right?
In a week, he's gone. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I don't even think it was a week.
It's
I
like
think
4 days.
I was early in the week, and I think he passed on the weekend. And I was told before I left Sweden that that what had happened and transpired in the last 7 days with the Toronto events, and then this was, he was likely to leave the public eye from there. So that was kind of like his way of saying goodbye to his friends and family and all of Sweden
and the hockey world.
The hockey world.
Swan song, the curtain call, and an amazing, literally a goodbye. And that's the devastation of the disease. And Mark Curtin, of course, he was a former Maple Leaf, former Red Wing, former Canuck, who was on Simmer's Morning Skate last year. We did a couple pieces on Curdy's efforts, and he said that Salming would probably raise the profile of the ALS cause. So hopefully that is the good thing that comes out of this, that more people.
Well, they do, and maybe this is a shameless plug. They have formed a Borje Salming ALS Foundation that is being run out of Sweden. We're working with that foundation on promotion and really profile raising around our All-Star game so that people can contribute. I know a lot of our clubs have donated 50/50s in honor of that foundation. So I think that foundation, and I know I support one in the United States. So I don't know how many foundations there are, but obviously it's a worthwhile cause for Borje. So it's something that the hockey world certainly supports.
Yeah. Did not know that. I'm glad you threw that out there so people are aware of what's going on there. We've both lost a friend, maybe mutual, but we have friends that are afflicted now, and other folks related to the hockey that have passed away before. Let's jump to with Simmer's Morning Skate with Bill Daly, of course, Deputy Commissioner of the National Hockey League. This is not a radio show, so if you're watching, you already knew that. But while we're on the subject of international hockey, Italian Olympics are next. So no Pyeongchang, no Beijing. Are we going to hit Milano? And I would think there's a lot of family members that wouldn't mind hanging out in Milan. So there's a big difference in that regard, and time zones and all that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. The current plan is it was tied into a much broader plan, which involved the World Cup as well, which I'm sure we're going to bleed into a bit. Yeah. But the hope and certainly our expectation at this point in time is that we will be shutting down our season in 2026 to accommodate player participation in the Milano Olympics. What I have been told by the IIHF is that we're still working with the IOC on the arrangements for that participation, and whether they're prepared to pay the expenses associated with NHL players coming. I don't think that's a done deal yet, but we certainly are hopeful that at least what they've done in the past, they're prepared to do now. I'm sure you're watchers have seen that Don Fear has publicly said that, from a player's perspective, it doesn't make sense to participate if we don't have at least what we've had in the past. So we'll see where we end up. But yes, the expectation is 26 in Milano is on.
Very good. I haven't worked in Olympics officially for a network or anyone else since Torino. So it'd be fitting if I were to figure something out.
And as I remember, Torino also in northern Italy. I think I flew out of Milano to come home. So I think I spent a night in Milan, and of course had to buy my wife a designer purse while I was there.
Now, here's an interesting thing about the players not participating in the last two. And I'll give you an example. I'll use American goalies as an example. There's a crop of players, a talented crop of players that could just miss their, and I know this isn't, I'm not blaming anyone in particular, no reason to, that may not get that Olympic experience. And the two names I'll throw up, just because everybody said that throughout, we'll throw out, is Connor Hellebuck and John Gibson. So Gibby I was in Ufa, Russia when they won the gold medal, Team USA World Juniors. He was just a young guy, obviously in 14 for Sochi, so wasn't there. Hellebuck, same thing. And everybody's saying, oh, gee, in 18, the US is going to have the best goalies. Oh, in 22, USA is going to have the best goalies. These guys didn't get to play. They're going to be, by the time Italy rolls back around, 33-ish. And there's going to be some young upstart, like Thatcher Demko is an example in Vancouver. Some competition. Be curious to see if those guys and skaters, of course, from various countries just kind of missed the window. Like all those kids that were in that UFA final for Sweden, Ricard Raquel and others, and those guys that were in the Johnny Gaudreau, for example, was in that UFA final, the USA, might just miss it. And it's pretty bizarre if you think about it.
Yeah, very unfortunate, obviously, in some respect. And that's where, hopefully the World Cup comes in. Our hope is to.
Is that your broker?
My phone. I won't pick it up though. That's where the World Cup can be helpful. And the hope, and really, our expectation was we'd be able to sign off on a long-term international event calendar, not only with the NHLPA, who we are aligned with, finally, but also with the International Ice Hockey Federation, and that's had its challenges. The World Cup, the IIHF has its own marketing partner, sports marketing partner in Europe, a big source of revenue for the IIHF, and that marketing partner doesn't like the idea of having a February World Cup preceding a World Championships, which is their major property. So, it turned out to be a lot more complicated than we thought it was going to be. Ultimately, world events is what dictated us moving the World Cup away from 2024, and we'll see. Certainly, the hope is we can stage it in 2025, but who knows what's going to be happening with the Ukraine-Russian conflict and what that means to Russian team participation, what it means to Russian player participation. All open issues currently, but issues that we're committed to working through with the relevant stakeholders.
Right. Those goalies I mentioned and a number of players did get to participate in 16 World Cup, but again, it's not the Olympics.
And on different teams for some of them, as I recall.
Different teams because of the funky structure, which again, it's not the Olympics. It's a big deal. It's best on best, sort of, but it's not the Olympics. All right, Stadium Series, and last thing, Stadium Series and Winter Classic. Back bigger than ever. Are we back at Fenway for the Winter Classic?
We are back at Fenway for the Winter Classic. The last time we were there was in 2010.
Yep.
On January 1st. This year's game is on January 2nd, which is kind of the official holiday for New Year's this year. But it's a little bit different. And actually, you should tune in definitely, and I know you will. But Steve Mayer does a fabulous job just creating the scenery.
Yep.
around our Winter Classics and another unique theme this year. So I think it'll be fun. And then in a kind of a venue and a area of the continent that we haven't really had an outdoor game before, a different type of environment. McCarter Finley Stadium in Carolina for the Stadium Series game this year, with the Carolina Hurricanes hosting the Washington Capitals. And I think you'll obviously a college football stadium.
Yep.
For NC State, and parking lots that can host a lot of tailgating events, which I'm sure will be transpiring, and will be fun to watch. It should be a fun kind of college environment, which it should be pretty cool. So we're excited about this year's events.
Very, very nice. By the way, speaking of people who left us too soon, one of my great thrills in covering hockey and reporting and being TV radio boy over 30 years was the one time I got to actually do a broadcast with Dave Strader, our old pal Dave Strader, who passed away of cancer a few years ago. It was Strades, Panger, and me doing the national radio broadcast from Fenway in 2010 at that Winter Classic, and that was really cool just to finally get to do something with Strades.
Great friend of hockey for sure.
Oh,
great hockey man.
It was unbelievable. And what I just found out, which is really cool, is Eddie Olczyk, who's up here now in Seattle doing some stuff. I'm in Vancouver at the moment. His son Nick, who is a great kid, great guy, was telling me that he's going to be doing that radio thing from Fenway this time. So
great.
Good luck to Nick.
Nick's doing a great job, by the way.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I do believe so. Bill, always a pleasure. Happy holidays. Have you gone out? Have you trudged out into the woods and cut down your tree? I'm sure a couple weeks ago, or what?
A couple weeks ago. Yeah, we've been. I do Christmas big time, so I've got a lot of trees around my house. I got our main tree on the main floor. I've got kind of two welcoming trees on my front porch. I have one kind of a tree down in my downstairs bar. We have a tree up in our master bedroom. We have a tree in my son's room. We have lots of trees.
Wow.
So if you ever need trees, my house is pick up.
All right. Well, I'm way out here, so we'll have to maybe have a post-Christmas, post-New Year's bourbon.
I'll send you some pictures.
Okay, yeah. But we'll have to have a little something in New York down the road. Maybe in February when it's really nasty. Yeah, when the Kraken come through. Bill, outstanding as usual. Great information as usual. Thank you very much as usual. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And to our fans that don't celebrate anything in particular or something else like Hanukkah or etc., happy holidays to those folks. But thank you very much. Always a pleasure to see you.
My pleasure. Thank you, and happy holidays to everyone.